Hello, everyone. Welcome to the ZB Network podcast. This is Spigel, as always, and joining me once again, we have Hextupa.
Hey, guys.
Nobody else this week. We're doing another one-on-one. Our last one got such glowing reviews and so many views on YouTube that we just had to do it again. In fact, I think that was like our lowest viewed podcast ever.
Oh, no.
It was the Halloween episode about Majora's Mask. So if you have, episode 8, I think it was. So if you haven't seen it, go watch it. And if you have seen it, we'll go watch it again because we need the views and we need the money.
Yeah, I think we kind of rambled on that episode a bit.
Oh, it was just gushing over the best game to ever be made for the N64.
That's true.
Incidentally, you may have noticed that we do have ads on our videos, advertisements on our videos, that is. That is because we have monetized our business and we are now making a grand 17 cents a month from all the views that we get from you lovely people. So if you like our videos, make sure you're watching them because it really helps us. It really helps us pay the bills around here.
Am I going to get my cut of that 17?
No, I told you your contract starts in 2015 when we hit it really big. Do you really want the like 8.5 cents that I could give you?
I really don't.
Because I'll send you a check if you want. The stamp costs more than the check, but okay.
It's not worth the mailing cost.
Well, it's a pride thing, you know.
PayPal me that mess, man.
Yeah, we could do that. It is increasingly a cashless society, as you all know. Wow. Okay, so we're here to talk about video games, and this week's episode is actually a very special one because we only get to do one of these a year. This is the preview of next year. We're doing a preview of 2015, and since neither of us have been super well versed in any of the games that are coming out next year that are not Nintendo because we're both super busy, we're actually going to focus this one on just Nintendo. So if you're here for anything else, you may want to consider going to another prediction video or another channel. But if not, we hope you can stay with us and stick with us for this episode because we got a lot to talk about. A lot of games coming out in 2015.
Even just Nintendo.
Yeah, Nintendo has a ridiculous schedule for 2015, and you have to figure there's even stuff that hasn't been announced yet, and that just adds to it even more. But I'm doing a quick count right here, and it looks like I've got 20 games just in my notes that are probably going to happen next year. I mean, that's insane. 20 first party games too, because Nintendo doesn't have third party support anymore.
Well, it seems like they're the best at carrying their own weight these days. I mean, it's almost like they don't even need third parties. I mean, they're not going to be as profitable as. Oh, I mean, can you even say the other guys are profitable these days because their hardware is so expensive? So I don't know. It's hard to say. I think Nintendo's model is like smaller in scope, but it might be more sustainable. I don't know. Well,
you remember like a couple months ago, or maybe this was like earlier this year, I don't really know, but there was news that came out that said Nintendo had like restructured a lot of stuff in their business. And I'm thinking maybe that had something to do with like splitting up development teams so that like smaller teams are working on games. And that's how we're getting games like Captain Toad and stuff like that.
Yeah, it seems that way. I was actually looking at a list of all of their departments under entertainment analysis and development. Mm-hmm. They're EAD, as they're usually called. They have a lot of departments, I think more than I even remember. I mean, they have several in Kyoto and several in Tokyo. So I was just trying to see who's working on what games to see how they would split up the workload a bit. I think it's interesting that Captain Toad was actually still developed by the same department as 3D World.
Well, I mean, how surprising is that, though? Because, I mean, it used basically the same...
It's not surprising, but it's interesting that it stayed within the same team rather than, like, giving it to some smaller team to work on. I mean, maybe it's still an offshoot, but it's within the same department. So I don't know how much they've been working on a new game. That's what I want to know, but I guess that's what this podcast is for.
Yes, it is. And you know what I was thinking, actually, regarding Captain Toad is I was thinking they probably had more levels planned for Super Mario 3D World to use for Captain Toad because there weren't really a whole lot of them, if you remember.
Right.
And I was thinking, like, maybe they sort of just took like a few of those and just like, you know, we can make our own game, and they kind of just spent a couple months like working on levels and stuff, and the rest was just up to polishing it.
Yeah, I do wonder what the role was of those 5 levels in 3D World, because it seems to me like it was sort of like a testing ground to see if people responded well to them, and then whether or not it was a good idea to move forward on the other project. But also, I don't know how far along they were on the other project, Captain Toad, during the development of 3D World, so I don't know when that evolved into its own game.
Well, we know how Nintendo works, right? Like they always do the core gameplay first, and then they
Right.
build out from there. So I mean, they already had that. So my guess would be, they kind of had it there, and they're like, yeah, people liked it. Let's just go forward. And then probably didn't take them very long from that point. From that point on.
It might also have been an issue with whether or not people would have responded well to the announcement of Captain Toad having not played those levels. So maybe it's like they already planned to do those diorama kind of levels in its own game, but to kind of soften the announcement to people, maybe they put 5 levels of that sort of style in 3D World just to give people a taste for it. Because I wonder if people would have responded well to Captain Toad when they announced it had those levels not existed in 3D World.
I think that makes a lot of sense, yeah. And I have not seen sales numbers for Captain Toad yet. I don't think they're out. But it'll be interesting to see what those numbers are when they finally do come out. But let's move on because we can't keep talking about 2014 games now because now we got a lot to cover. So let's move on. The first big game, I guess you could say, of 2015 would be Kirby and the Rainbow Curse, revealed this year at E3. We know the release date is February 13th. And let's just ask, Hex, are you going to be purchasing this game?
Oh, certainly. Despite the fact that there are no angry eyes on the cover.
Yeah, that may be sad. We'll put a picture of the cover art in the podcast so you can see it.
Yeah, I'm excited about this. I don't have any specific predictions about it. I don't know what you have in your head.
I don't have any predictions. I just wanted to kind of say for just a second, like, how awesome I think this game looks. We had a user question from somebody that we didn't actually end up using. That was like, what was a series that you got into that like you didn't really play for like a long time, even though the games have been around for a long time, and now you just want to play a bunch of those games. And for me, Kirby is that series. I played Kirby's Dream Land, and then I'm like, oh my gosh, I gotta play more of this because I enjoyed it so much, even though that's like bare bones Kirby.
Right. How recently did you play that game?
I played it in like September. That was my first Kirby game, and
wow.
I just loved it so much. I'm like, I gotta play more Kirby. So I got 2 and 3. I'm in the middle of 3 right now, and I'm really excited for Rainbow Curse.
Who's developing Rainbow Curse? Is it the same people that developed what's it called, Epic Yarn, or is it a different team? Because I know the people who did Epic Yarn is doing Yoshi. So
it is being developed by HAL Laboratory. So
okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, so that makes sense. They've done Kirby games in the past.
That's actually a little bit shocking to me, just because HAL Lab isn't known for making the prettiest games, in my opinion. But this is a very, very nice looking game.
I mean, the screenshots are the clay design was a great choice.
Oh yeah, I think they did a really good job with it.
The fact that it uses the gamepad, and it even makes it clear on the cover that it uses the gamepad. If you look at the box art, there's like a stylus touching Kirby's head.
Right.
And then, of course, there's the amiibo thing on there too. So I don't know how the game's going to use amiibos, but that'll be interesting to see for sure. Yeah, I actually don't have any predictions regarding the amiibo thing either, but the game does say it will use amiibos, so we'll see, I guess.
I'm wondering how many of these games that are going to feature amiibo had it shoehorned in at the last minute.
My guess would be that this is definitely one of them, because, well, the reasoning isn't great, I guess, but it was announced at the same time as amiibo.
Right.
And I don't know. I just don't know how long Nintendo had this amiibo idea like floating around, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Because it definitely seems like it was shoehorned into Smash, although Smash was around much longer than Kirby and the Rainbow Curse was, for sure.
Yeah, that's true.
So who knows?
I mean, it's probably earlier in development than it was for Smash. Because Smash was like very last minute, and you can kind of tell. But we've talked about that enough.
Yeah.
But I think maybe you'll start seeing more meaningful integrations for Amiibo going into next year.
Yes.
Hopefully this is one of them. I guess once we see what happens in this game with Amiibo, we'll have a better taste for the scope of how they're going to implement those, because I'm definitely curious.
What they'll do in like a more traditional game, right?
Right.
Like this one, not like Smash Brothers, which is a very specialized,
Right. With the crossover aspect and all that.
Right.
And I want to see what they can do if they can plan on Amiibo integration from the get-go. Because that's kind of what happened with Skylanders. Like, they had the idea to use figures, and they based the gameplay off of the idea that figures were going to be a part of the package. So I want to know what other games do.
Speaking of other games that use Amiibo, we know for sure Mario Party 10 is coming out next year. Well, we don't know for sure. It's actually only scheduled for 2015. There is no official date. I can't imagine they'd wait till the holiday season to release
Have
it
they
because
have they at least said it's going to be early 2015, or is it still just a loose 2015?
the note that I saw just said 2015, but I could have been looking at a bad source or something.
Well, I imagine they're pretty far along with that game, given how what it looked like at E3. I don't imagine
Yeah,
this is a game that'll bleed into 2016. So
yeah, and I like this idea that they have like Bowser Party, where like the person has the gamepad and they like get to be Bowser and do a bunch of crazy stuff. I like that, and I haven't bought a new Mario Party since Mario Party DS. So, and I've always liked Mario Party because it's a
yeah,
great party game, you know. So, I'll probably buy into this one just for the lack of new Wii U games early 2015. I have a prediction, and that it will be released on the same day as Codename Steam, which is March 13th. Another game I don't really have a whole lot of predictions for. Um, but my prediction is they'll be on the same day. Nintendo is no stranger to releasing games on the same day that are different platforms. They've done it 2 times already in the past 2 years, so I could see it happen again.
I think the reviews for Mario Party 9 weren't the greatest. So I'm wondering what they're going to do, because I'm assuming it's the same team that did 9 that's doing this one, since Hudson's gone. I know the car aspect, like where all four characters or all four players are in the same vehicle, is back, but I don't know
Mm.
what capacity it is. Like I don't know if they're gonna split off for other modes or not. Because I really missed the aspect of the older Mario Party games where you're trying to sabotage other people's position on the board.
That was great.
So I want that to be back. I don't know a lot about Mario Party 10, so
They did say, if I'm recalling correctly, that in a lot of Mario Party 9 reviews, that it was a step up. It was an improvement from Mario Party 8 because they changed up the gameplay mechanics successfully enough to the point where it felt fresh. It didn't feel like you were just doing the same old Mario Party over and over again,
yeah,
even
that's
though
true.
the mini games still felt kind of samey though. But
Hmm.
with the gamepad, you got plenty of new opportunities. And I actually thought, if you ever played Wii Party U, which I got as one of the free games for getting Mario Kart 8,
Yeah, that was the one I got, but I
they
haven't played
did
it.
they did actually manage to do like a good amount of creative stuff with it, and the Wii remotes for that matter. So, it can still be done. They still have some creative minds over there.
Good deal.
Yeah, that's enough of that. Um, Next big game, and this is probably the second big game of 2015 for Nintendo, would be Yoshi's Woolly World,
Hmm.
another character franchise similar to Kirby. This release date has not been set in stone yet. It is spring 2015, whatever that means.
When
My
does spring
prediction,
start?
well, spring
March?
officially starts in March. My prediction, as it were, is actually I think this game is going to get delayed, and I don't really know why. I just have kind of a gut feeling. I think it's going to be delayed till like July or August,
Really?
similar to the way Pikmin 3 was, yeah, a couple years ago, last year in fact.
I don't know. I don't think that's gonna happen. Just because we've known about it, it's kind of been in development for a good while now. Even if early on we didn't know, it was like still called Yarn Yoshi, and then it kind of went into silence for a while.
Right.
But I think given the amount of time it's had for development, I don't see them delaying it anytime soon.
I think I'm
Um,
just concerned about the fact that we have a release date for Kirby, we have a release date for Steam, and those are technically winter games, February, March, but I don't know. I feel like we should know more than we do right now. But I don't know. Nintendo always
I
does
think
that.
it's
They
gonna
always
be
like,
first half though. I mean, I don't see it going anywhere beyond May. I think
well,
August is a huge delay. That's not gonna happen.
I don't know. I'm kind of looking at it the exact same way I looked at Pikmin and saying like, well, this game was supposed to be spring 2013, but then it was supposed to be launch window, and then it was
Right.
spring 2013, and then it got launch windowed all the way into late August of 2013. So, and it was like the only Wii U game that anyone ever wanted, and it was like the best thing ever when it came out because no one had played a new Wii U game in like 5 6 months.
Right.
So
Yeah, it's possible. I'm just gonna say, for the sake of competing with you, that it's not gonna get delayed anywhere beyond the first half of the year.
okay. Well, we don't need to have any more bets because you know what happens when that happens.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. What's my next game on this list here?
I believe it's
Oh,
Splatoon,
it
right?
is Splatoon. Yes, game we're very excited for.
Oh
Both
yes.
Hex and I, we both really want this game.
I've been following the Tumblr, and it's funny to see how they're taking like a research lab approach to the narrative, the way they tell new information.
I
Uh,
like that.
yeah, I'm excited. Super excited.
What? Do you have anything
Smash
specific
5.
that you wanted
Smash
to?
5 Splatoon Inklings.
Oh, did you? Yeah, it's a little early for that. They're not making Smash 5, remember?
That's
Um,
right. I forgot.
yeah,
Melee was supposed to be the last one.
yeah. Did you have anything specific that you wanted to predict regarding Splatoon? All I have is a release date. I don't have any actual like gameplay because they announced the single player mode, obviously. But
Right. I think I'm gonna make a prediction about how it's going to be perceived
okay,
by the world, and that is, I feel like it's going to be this is gonna inflate it way too much, but like a restoration of the kind of games we had back in the era of Banjo-Kazooie and things like that,
oh,
because we
that
haven't
is
really
very
seen any
inflated.
3D platformy kind of games. And I know it's not a platformer, it's a shooter, but I feel like the fact that it's a new IP kind of lays the groundwork for them finally introducing more like Golden Age 3D platformer kinds of characters, even if it's not from Nintendo. Like, we haven't seen a Sly Cooper kind of character in a while. I mean, Knack was kind of that, I think, but I don't really know anything
Yeah,
about
but
it.
Knack was bad though, so it doesn't
Um,
really.
so I feel like it's going to usher in an era again, hopefully. And I hope it does well, because I think that'll invite Nintendo to continue to do more IPs, because it's been a while since we've seen a new one.
Absolutely, yeah. And my prediction for Splatoon, Q2 2015 is the release date, which is April to June. I think May 1st is the perfect date, first Friday in May. It just feels like a summer game, doesn't it?
Oh yeah, the
So
visuals,
that's Q2, you
so
know?
bright.
It's so pretty. I want to play Splatoon. We're going to
We're
spend
gonna
all
play a lot of
summer
that, I hope.
playing Splatoon. It's going to be awesome. We need to start like a ZBNet Splatoon network. Yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
be good.
okay, Splatoon. What's next? Oh, okay. This is the same month. Is my prediction. Zelda Majora's Mask 3D. While I said previously that I think this is going to be like an early March type of game, I started thinking about it, and I'm like, well, would they really release Steam and Zelda at the same time? I was like, well, probably not. They probably want to hype up Steam as much as they possibly could. They don't want it to be overshadowed since it is a new IP.
Right.
And I figured May is a good buffer, and also it would be a good time to release the new 3DS as you're nearing summer, and that is released in America and Europe as you're nearing summer. Kids getting set to go on vacation, they're going to want something to do on vacation. Get me the new console, mommy, and they get the new 3DS as well as a game to go with it, which has new 3DS specific features, as we've heard.
Yes, yes.
Wonder what those features could be.
Yeah, camera, please. Like, we're expecting that. Well, actually, we know that Zelda U is gonna have camera control with the right stick, and I can't imagine what else they'll do with a right stick in Majora's Mask. I mean, that's one of the key new features of the new 3DS. So, if they're already tinkering with camera control again in Zelda U, they'll probably shoehorn it into Majora's Mask. That's my prediction.
Shoehorn away. This as far as predictions, I'm not doing a very good job. I haven't predicted anything except release dates. I'll get to that later, I think. So I think there will be a new 3DS Majora's Mask like bundle, and that will be the one that I get for sure if it does happen.
That's probably a safe bet. I mean, they want to promote the new 3DS as much as possible to sell units, and Majora's Mask is a weighty title in the minds of gamers these days.
As opposed to, say, Xenoblade Chronicles, which we know they're also doing on new 3DS, but
right,
it's not
but who's
going to
going to
sell in
buy
America.
that version over the Wii version, right? Like, if they've played it, chances are they've played it if they care enough about that franchise. They've played it already, and I don't imagine it'll look much better than the Wii version. So I don't see Xenoblade being a unit seller.
No, you're right. Next game, Mario Maker, also announced at E3 of 2014. I have on my notes first half 2015, and I see this game kind of same vein as Splatoon, kind of a summery game, and I'm not really sure why, but I have a feeling June is the correct month. It's a month after. It would be a month after Splatoon, another Wii U game for summer.
Yeah, we saw a trailer for it at the Game Awards recently.
That's correct.
Which gave us a little bit more information about like new skins, new gameplay elements that are not necessarily from the older games like Mario 1. And I was watching a lot of Game Explains videos, about Mario Maker and their predictions and their analyses. And I'm pretty excited, but I'm curious to see if they'll add. I mean, there's room for more skins in the user interface, so I'm guessing they're gonna add more. And I want to know if there's gonna be like bosses or things like that. Whether or not you're gonna be able to package your levels together in sort of like a almost like your own little quest.
Like a 1-1 through 1-4.
Right.
You know, like you do the 4 levels. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because right now it does kind of feel like a budgety type of game, right? Like it doesn't feel
Right.
like it's complete yet, which is why I think we're going to be waiting a little bit longer than say for Splatoon, which looks like it's fairly fleshed out at this point.
Yeah, I hope it's not one of the kind of things like Happy Wheels. I don't know how familiar you are with that game, but Happy Wheels are basically looking at a list of stage names that next to people's names on a list, and nothing more than that. You just like, this is called blah blah blah, and you click on it, and then you play the level, and once you're finished with the level, it exits you out all the way back to the list, and you just continue picking from a list of user created content.
Yeah.
I hope they do more than that.
Well, it should be a better interface than that, hopefully, at least.
Well, I mean, yeah, it's Nintendo. It's not.
I mean, they're gonna polish it, right? Like it's not gonna be, you know.
No, yeah, I imagine they will. I just hope that they're. I mean, I don't know how much has been confirmed at this point, but there better be an easy way for people to communicate with each other or share levels than what Smash had in Brawl or something like that. Like there needs to be a community surrounding this game, otherwise it's not going to work.
Yes. And
they need to foster the community with the game itself rather than like forcing people to make subreddits and things like that.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, moving on. One more Wii U game that we definitely know about is Star Fox. 2015. We know it's coming out before Zelda, supposedly. Not a whole lot else is known about it, really. There was some news that came out today that Miyamoto said, or confirmed rather, that the looking at the gamepad would be the view from the cockpit, so first-person view, and the third-person view would be up on the TV, which I think pretty much people knew was going to happen. But it's going to look cool, especially in the free-range shooting environments.
Yeah, I am curious how well that's going to work, because of all of the games that are coming out next year, this one seems like the most daring from a gameplay perspective, because Zelda U is going back to kind of the Wind Waker control scheme, and all of these new 2.5D platformers are pretty tried and true game mechanics, just with like a new skin, like Kirby and Yoshi.
And Donkey Kong last year.
But Star Fox is taking it from like a new perspective and adding what might be considered a gimmick to a lot of people. And I hope it doesn't hamper the experience for, like, I know Skyward Sword is very divisive. Some people love it, some people hate it. There's not a lot of people that are in between.
You know the thing about Star Fox is, sorry to interrupt you, but like it's rare that you can say like that series has one like super fantastic game, and then the rest of it is like mostly complete crap, or at least not that great.
Yeah.
And Star Fox is one of those games, and it's like, is it? And Yoshi actually is another one of those franchises. Really, I mean, apart from Yoshi's Island, what is there?
Yoshi's Story is so good, man.
Yoshi's Story is okay. I don't know if you're like trolling me.
No,
but,
I liked it as a kid, but it's not the most stellar game.
I did too. But for Star Fox, it's like, well, I'm kind of in wait and see mode because there hasn't been a good Star Fox game since. I mean, Salt was okay.
But there also has not been a like in-house Nintendo developed Star Fox game since 64, right?
That's
true. Because it was like Namco did
true.
Assault, Rare did Adventures.
Namco, Bandai Namco Entertainment now, by the way, they changed their name again.
Sorry. But yeah, this is the first one that Nintendo, like Miyamoto himself, has his fingerprints on this game. So that has me optimistic. But still, Miyamoto had his hands on Skyward Sword as well as a supervisor. So whether or not they can take the control scheme gimmick and make it worth our while, we've yet to see. But I'm still like, I hope they don't have like dials and levers that you have to press on the gamepad, like that you're in the cockpit and you have to use touch controls to be able to do certain things, like switch to all range mode and things like that. I'm a little bit skeptical, but we'll see.
let's see the game, right?
Yeah,
Let's see it.
they
We're
need to
gonna
show us
see it at
that
E3.
like
That's
next year before E3, if
you know
not at
I
E3.
I think there's going to be a Nintendo Direct fairly early next year to show off like these games,
Yeah,
give them release dates like Kirby, Yoshi. There's going to be Nintendo Directs for these games, so maybe like late January. So we'll probably see Star Fox at that point. I can't imagine them not showing it because we haven't seen anything
right.
yet.
And waiting
All
for
we
an
know,
entire year from E3 would be a long time. They've showed us a little bit of
and
Zelda, and they showed us almost nothing at E3 last year. So I think it's fair to
right,
say we'll see Star Fox again before E3.
yes. Um, that's it for stuff that we know about, and there are some unannounced games that I have coming out like immediately after Star Fox. I predicted Star Fox for August, which may be a little early, but if they're going to get it out before Zelda, they're going to want to add or have like a little bit of space in between them.
Yeah,
Because those are two pretty big games, right?
and we all know Zelda's coming out holiday. Like, there's no chance it's not coming any time before that. That's too early.
They have to do it. If they because what's their big holiday game otherwise? I mean, it could be a Mario game which hasn't been announced yet. But for Wii U, I mean, Zelda U is the game that people are like, okay, I bought it on this Wii U for Smash Brothers. Zelda better be coming next year. They don't want to make a lot of people angry. The last thing they can afford to do is alienate people who bought their console expecting a big game.
Are we planning on talking about Zelda U after, like, at any point later on? Because I have sort of a
Yeah,
prediction.
I've got that on my list here.
Okay.
Other games that we know about that are coming in 2015 include Xenoblade Chronicles X for Wii U, which I think is going to be another holiday release. I also have it tying in. This is my prediction. I have it tying in with the new 3DS version. There's going to be some connectivity of some kind, which I think is going to be a cool reward for people who get both versions of the game. Anything on Xenoblade X?
No, not really. I never played the old one,
Okay.
so I don't really have any predictions from a design standpoint. Or
Are you getting it?
am I getting it? Probably not, honestly. I mean, I don't have time
Okay.
for a really lengthy JRPG in my life right now, so probably
Yeah.
not. I'm watching Chugga Conroy's LP of it, and that's interesting, but other than that, I don't think I'm going to play it. Sorry, guys.
Yeah, people are disappointed, but don't worry, I'll get it and I'll play it and I'll waste my life. So all I do at this point, I have a final tomorrow. I'm doing this podcast instead of studying, and I'm just daydreaming about Xenoblade Chronicles X like during class field trips that I need to be paying attention to. So my life is a wreck, but that's okay. I have this podcast. Zelda U also, I have this and a game that has not been announced yet, releasing on November 20th, 2015. That is the Friday, of course, before Black Friday. And the unannounced game, I'll just go ahead and say it's Pokemon Z. We know the Nintendo annualization of Pokemon thing, and I think it's going to happen again.
Yep,
So,
we've had a remake, so now it's time for the third iteration of a certain generation. That's always how it
yeah,
works.
yes. One other thing that was interesting that may not be interesting to you, Hex, but I just wanted to mention. In Pokemon Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, there's this area in the battle resort that says like they're building something, and I think they're referring to the battle tower that was in Pokemon Emerald, and I think that's going to be like DLC or something like that.
Maybe.
I thought it'd be better for them to do a DLC at this point than to make a full-fledged Pokemon. Or to be Delta Emerald, I guess it would be.
Yeah.
I don't know. Delta seems to be a theme in that game, but I think it's going to be DLC probably next year, which is cool. Cool for fans of the of Pokemon Emerald. Moving down my list. Oh, here's a game I actually forgot to mention on our way down. This is actually a third-party game. Renegade Kid is remaking Dementium the Ward,
Yes.
due out in Q2 next year, 2015. I don't know if you ever played this game.
I did
Hex, but
not.
I mentioned it because
And
I really liked it.
yeah, when I think Renegade Kid these days, it's not a game I think about. Like, after they released Mutant Mudds and Zeo Drifter, that's kind of like their homage to classic 8-bit platformers or 16-bit platformers. So
Right.
I don't really think of like what I presume is a horror game.
It's a
based
horror
on the
game,
cover
yes.
art. But
Very
yeah,
scary.
I've never really paid attention to Dementium, so it's interesting that they're remaking it. Did it do well?
I don't know sales wise. Wasn't prepared to get those numbers, but I know I really liked it, and I know that it got pretty decent reviews, and a remake on a better looking console with better lighting features specifically. That was my big problem
Right.
with the original game. Was it was too dark.
DS, right?
Yeah. And it's a remake, and it's been 7 years. So if you're gonna remake a game, I guess 7 years is a decent amount of time, especially if you're doing it to fix the problems of the original, which again was lighting.
Yeah.
So yeah, so I'm excited for that. I'll probably, I don't know if I'll get it, but I'll definitely be keeping an eye on it. And
Yeah, I have a lot of respect
I
for
wouldn't.
Renegade Kid as a developer.
Yeah, me too. Me too. Other games, the two more Wii U games that have not gotten release dates yet, and two that I'm actually very doubtful are actually going to release in 2015 are, of course, Shin Megami Tensei Crossfire Emblem, which we talked about a couple episodes ago, as thinking, I don't think neither of us think it's still happening, right?
I mean, based on our discussion from the last podcast episode where we talked about it, I don't think it's still in the cards. It seems like things like that kind of fall through the cracks a lot.
Yeah, they haven't said anything about it, and it just feels like at E3 they talked about Star Fox and like, yeah, we're making Star Fox, and then they said, yeah, we're still making Shin Megami Tensei Crossfire Emblem, and then that's it. And we've heard about Star Fox since then. Haven't heard a word about that game, so
Right.
I don't know.
I mean,
if it's still happening, it's not coming out next year. They haven't shown anything.
I mean, this isn't a deal where they've already released it in Japan and then we're just waiting, because localization from these kind of Japan-centric games takes a while. So if we haven't heard anything about it from the Japan end of things, there's no way it's coming out for North America next year.
And you know what? You mentioned that localization thing too early, because that was a perfect segue into what I was going to talk about after this. But real quick, keep that localization thought in mind. Real quick, one more Wii U game. Devil's Third, the only third-party Wii U game coming out next year.
Devil's Third Party.
Unless we don't know about like Zombie U2, which is also not
Completely
happening.
disregard my pun.
And it's also a very funny name because Zombie U2. And yes, I'm disregarding the disregarding of the pun as well.
Oh man, brutal.
So yeah, Zombie U2 featuring soundtrack from U2.
Cool.
Which is not happening. Okay, no more bad jokes. I'm exhausted. Okay, Devil's Third. It looks bad, and I think it looks bad, and they've changed engines like 3 times.
Have we seen anything since E3 about that game?
No, that's the other thing. I'm just not confident that it's going to be any good. I'm not a fan of those. Like, I know it's not a hack and slash game, but it's from the same. What's the name of the guy who does it?
I don't know.
I can't remember, but he's from that kind of realm. And maybe I'm totally wrong, and you can say in the comments if I'm wrong, but I'm just not interested in it, even though it's a third-party Wii U game, which we never get.
Right. Yeah, I don't have high hopes for it. I mean, unless it's one of those things where, because it's in Nintendo's wheelhouse, Nintendo is like really helping them along the way or something like that.
Like with Bayonetta, right. Except Bayonetta was really, really good.
Right. Well, I don't know any. Like, this is a franchise, right? But I don't know anything about.
Actually, I'm not under the impression that this is a franchise. Although from the research that I did, I was not able to clearly make out whether it was a franchise or not.
Right. Well, I don't have anything else to say there.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't want it. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, make us
want it. I'm just not interested right now.
Or something.
Yeah,
give us a Nintendo Direct with more information. Make it look appealing, because right now it doesn't look appealing.
I'm sure we'll see. I'm sure if they're gonna do the right thing, they're gonna promote it heavily at E3, like with the third party, like big focus. Like, oh look, here's a third party that's doing something, like kind of like they did last year with Bayonetta.
Right. Here's an idea for like a broad generalization of like what might happen next year. We might see a resurgence of some third-party support, maybe. I mean, I don't know what the sales numbers are from the holiday. I mean, we won't know until next year, really.
Here's an interesting thing. I read that like these other franchises, these other third-party franchises, the only one I can remember off the top of my head right now is One Piece, which I know nothing about. But they're starting to use Amiibo. And I'm thinking, well, that would be very interesting if Nintendo could somehow integrate Amiibo into third-party games.
Yeah, I did see that, actually.
Like say, for example, Mass Effect 3 got released on launch, I think, for Wii U. Can you imagine if like Mass Effect 3 had like Mario costumes in it or something, like based on what Amiibo you scan of the game? Like, that would be an intriguing way to get people to buy the Wii U version of third-party games that they could ordinarily get on other platforms.
Definitely. Even though, I mean, they kind of did that kind of thing with Tekken Tag Tournament 2, where they had, like, Mario character costumes for the characters. Now that you have Amiibo, I don't imagine they'll do much beyond things like costumes for third-party games. But
I'm just hoping to God that these like 30 paperweights I have in my house don't
Right.
become completely worthless.
they'll just remain paperweights
Yeah.
or figure fighters or whatever. They're figure players from Smash.
For what it's worth, they still look really cool. I'm looking at them right now on my shelf. They look awesome.
Different strokes for different folks. I'm sure the standards are run the gamut for.
Well,
different
let me just say I am far away from them, so I can't tell the detail problem.
Well, that's true.
Marth looks freaking awesome from where I'm sitting, but if I get up close to him, it's like, oh, that's not.
Why
that
is your
good.
face so high on your head?
Yeah.
Anyways.
Okay, moving on. Okay, back to the localization thing that you mentioned for Shin Megami Tensei, how that doesn't take that long, blah, blah, blah. It seems to have taken a long time for a certain franchise, but I think this is finally the year that the Mother trilogy is going to get released in a full package for Wii U. Earthbound sold super well on Wii U when it got released for the Virtual Console. Way better than they were expecting. That much was totally clear. Then they went ahead and referenced Star Fox in this year's E3 presentation, and then like they made fun of Star Fox fans, and then they went ahead and made fun of Mother fans, but then they didn't reveal anything for Mother. But now I think that it's finally going to happen. I think they're finally going to release all 3 Mother games, remastered, localized on Wii U. When I say remastered, I don't mean like HD,
Right.
Visual. Like it's going to be the same type of game that Earthbound was on Virtual Console, but there's going to be like gameplay improvements. It's going to be a little easier. Obviously, Mother's super hard. Stuff like that. I think it'll be kind of a budgety type game released in a retail package and probably for a slightly cheaper on the Wii U eShop.
Mother was developed by HAL, correct? HAL Lab.
I believe so. I could be wrong.
I do wonder the likelihood of HAL having their hands on any sort of retouching or like reworking of a Mother game. Just because I don't have a high opinion of HAL Lab as a company. So I mean, all they seem to be doing these days is Kirby games. So that's probably why. I mean, we know Itoy doesn't have any plans on doing another Mother, which is why Mother 4 is a fan game, which I think is cool.
Right.
I don't know. I feel
But
like they would, if they were going to release it again in America, I don't feel like they're going to do much to it. And I don't feel like people who would buy Mother want them to do anything to it. I feel like just releasing them as is is the best way to go.
Yes, and I think that's basically what they're going to do. Just localize. I think Mother 3 is the only one that hasn't been localized, right? Like the first one did get an American release. Is that?
Well, no. It didn't get like an official release, but it did get a translation, an official translation.
Well, the point is they have that much of the work done. They have Earthbound already obviously out and released, and releasing it in a package with the other 2 games would be great, and it would be a good way to bridge the gap between like August and October when I think Nintendo's next big game is coming out.
Right.
And which is actually let's actually go ahead and move on. If you like my predictions, by the way, go ahead and tell us in the comments, and also tell us what you want to see from Nintendo in 2015, because I don't want it to be just all me.
Also, tell us if you think we're dead wrong, because that's always nice. Like, yeah, no, I'm not kidding. Like, tell us.
Do it nicely though. Like, don't just say you guys are stupid.
You know what? I'll settle for absolutely horrendously brutal, mean comments at this point because we haven't been getting much. So.
Yeah, you know what? Just leave a comment. Like, you don't have to say anything. Just say
you
something.
Hate us. I don't care.
Yeah, say whatever you want, and watch our videos because screw you, we're making money off you anyway, even if you hate us. So probably shouldn't have said that.
No, you shouldn't have.
Because now they won't. Now they won't watch.
New more unannounced predictions of yours. You have some.
Oh yeah. Oh what? Okay. Yes, I do. I have a couple more. This is okay. People are gonna laugh when I say this because we've been asking for this forever, but we all know Retro Studios hasn't really been working on anything since Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze, which we know that probably finished in late 2013, which means they've had about a year's time under their belt to work on something new. They recently hired. There was a story that they hired somebody who had experience, or they were looking to hire somebody who had experience in designing boss and enemy logic.
Yes.
Which implies they're probably not doing that Diddy Kong Racing sequel that I was talking about at E3.
And they're also probably not doing another platformer because most enemies and platformers do not require that much AI.
Right. So speculation is running rampant. I don't think they're doing a new IP. I think they're doing another Metroid game, and I don't think it's for Wii U. I think it's for new 3DS, and I say for new 3DS. I think it's going to be, drum roll please, Super Metroid Prime and cue laughter.
So why did you put the
Okay,
word super behind that Metroid?
because I think it's going to be a fusion, no pun intended. Uh, I noticed it as I said it. I think it's going to be a fusion of gameplay from Super Metroid and Metroid Prime. What I mean by that is I think it's going to be similar to Other M in the sense that it's going to have like shooting portions, but not bad like Other M. It's going to be mostly Super Metroid 2.5D platformer because they have experience with that now, obviously, but with the Metroid Prime elements that they've worked with in the past on Metroid Prime and Metroid Prime Hunters and all those games. And I say Metroid Prime Hunters because it was a DS game. So they know how those touch controls work for the shooting, and they now have platforming experience. So the time is ripe for them to do something that Team Ninja didn't do with Other M,
Yep.
and that is make a good Metroid game.
Yeah, I'd totally be down for that. I don't see them releasing a console game next year, so
I'll be honest with you, I think everyone would be down for that. Who would complain about a new 3DS, new Metroid that's as awesome as Metroid Prime and Super Metroid put together?
oh, I imagine a lot of people would complain that they're not doing a console, not announcing a console game, just like people were now annoyed about
Those
Majora's
people,
Mask 3D not being a Wii U game, which I could
those people
argue
are nuts.
the illogic of that till the cows come home.
We were going to have an article on the ZB.net a while ago about why handheld gaming is just as legitimate as console gaming, but we don't have a lot of time to talk about that because we're already running up against the clock
Yep.
here. So let's move on. I had obviously I mentioned the Pokemon prediction earlier, and then my one last prediction. I mean, I guess I have a couple more, but this is my last game prediction for 2015. There's going to be a new Super Mario game, not a new Super Mario game. There's going to be a Super Mario game um, that is not Galaxy 3. That's a prediction that's been going crazy forever. They're making Galaxy 3. They're not making Galaxy 3. I think it's too predictable.
Yeah, I think
And
EAD Tokyo is ripe for another Mario game.
I don't know what it would be, but I have not been disappointed by the last three Super Mario games.
I think it's going to be a new approach, like not something we've seen before.
I agree, and I have no idea what it's going to be, but I'm excited. And they did say the one thing we do know is the next one is going to be a return to the open world approach.
Oh, how do we know that?
I saw a quote somewhere, so we know it as much as that quote is reliable.
Right.
So take that for what you will. But yeah, I agree. I agree with you, Hex. I think it's going to be a new approach. Do you have any ideas of what that approach would be,
Should be like from a wishing standpoint.
or will be? Whatever you want.
I feel like they could do something really cool with like large hubs containing smaller linear stages. Like pretend you're like an Isle Delfino, right?
Okay.
And but like much larger, and you can collect things like stars inside that hub, much like you would collect stars in a more open world level like Womp's Fortress or something like that. But then
Okay.
have portals to linear levels within the hub. So like paintings, like the paintings scattered around, but instead of leading to the open world kind of levels, have more linear experiences to be found there.
So similar to, are you saying similarly to Super Mario 3D World, or more similar to the paintings from?
Similar to 3D World, but a larger scope for the maps, like actual
When I think
platforming.
linear experience, like when you say the paintings were like a linear world, like I didn't really
No,
feel
no,
that way.
no.
Like
Sorry, I was confusing. I'm not saying that the paintings were linear. They weren't. But like that's how you would set up like entering a level that is linear. Like the paintings served as a portal to other
oh, okay,
levels.
okay.
So, yeah, I think they could do a lot with like a hub, even like several hubs with different themes. Like I think it would be cool to basically take the 3D world maps and then actually make them like the Comet Observatory.
Okay. Yeah. And I mean, is there any doubt that this game is not happening next year?
I think they'll announce it next year. It's not going to release
I
next
think it's
year, obviously.
I think it's more likely that this game gets released next year
Do you
than
really?
Zelda does. Yeah, I do. Yeah, I do. I
That's
think
like
both
2
are,
years
but I think
between 3D World and that. I don't think that's enough time for them to finish a polished Mario game.
They did Mario Galaxy like 2 years after they did I mean, that was another Mario Galaxy game, but
You mean Galaxy
I don't know.
2?
I just
Well, I
yeah.
mean, they had so much
Is
to
that
work
not?
with. They had a framework already.
I don't know. I just feel like Reggie made a point of saying there is no new Mario game this year, and that felt strange to me that he would emphasize that so much. Maybe just to get off the perception that Nintendo only makes Mario games, but
I think that's really what
we're
it
talking
was.
about.
I mean,
I'm talking about E3, by the way.
I don't think he was saying this year to say, but there will be one next year. I just think they wanted to hammer home the fact that they have other things they can do. They're not the one trick pony, you know.
Maybe. It just
Also,
it just seemed like such an enigmatic statement that like we're not making a new Mario game this year.
I don't know.
Okay.
I think they're going to announce one next year. I have very little doubt they'll announce a new 3D Mario. But
it doesn't sound like Nintendo to like lash back at its critics and say like, oh, and we're not doing this anymore because you guys think that's all we do. That doesn't sound like Nintendo to me.
I don't know. I think Reggie kind of makes commentary on Western perceptions more often than like any of the Japanese guys would, and that's kind of his
Yeah.
job because he's like the head of NOA. So, but
Yeah.
announce yes, release no. I mean, I don't think they're going to compete with their own Zelda release in that regard because it wouldn't be early next year, so it would have to be late next year.
Well, March is a big game or a big month for releases, as we know. Like we've seen, like Wind Waker come out in March.
Yeah.
So anyway, so let's get off that. We're running right up against the clock here, so let's just go through my last few notes. Games that will not be released in 2015. Do you have any ideas for this? Do you want to add? Because you know mine, but I don't know yours.
Nope, I don't have any.
Okay.
Like ones that we know about.
Yeah, ones that we know about, and ones that we don't know about even. That are speculated. Like for example, I don't think Paper Mario U is coming out next year. I don't think it's happening. I think it's happening, but it's not next year. It's 2016, probably holiday. Animal Crossing U, I think it's too early. I don't think that's coming out next year. And Pokken Fighters, I don't think it's coming out next year either.
In regards to things that aren't releasing next year, given how much we already know about the release schedule for next year, even just going out of E3, I feel like most of the stuff that they announce at E3 this year, or this coming year, won't be coming out that year. Like, I feel like a lot of it will be 2016, which includes Animal Crossing. They probably will announce it, but it won't come out that year. Things like that.
It's a question. I have very few games that I talked about that have not been announced yet. That was Mother, Super Metroid Prime, Pokemon Z, and Super Mario Not Galaxy. That's 4 games that potentially they would announce at E3, and that's it.
Yeah, I don't see them doing more than that. I feel like they had a lot of pressure to announce a lot of the games that they had planned for next year.
Oh yeah,
because of the perception of the Wii U going into E3.
Yeah, you're totally right. You're totally right.
So they announced a lot of stuff that they were not prepared to announce, like Star Fox. But that's okay. I mean, people are optimistic about next year. We don't really need to see many more announcements for next year because I think there's already plenty.
It's like I said, there's like, I'm counting again, there's like 12 games coming out next year for Wii U that we know about that are probably going to be awesome. So, take that for what you will. I think that's if you have a year where you can get 5 AAA awesome games on one console that are guaranteed to be awesome, say in this case, well, I'm not going to use the examples, but that's a good year in itself, and Nintendo's going to release like 10 awesome games potentially.
Maybe.
Just by themselves. So I think 2015. One thing I will predict solidly for 2015, it's going to be an awesome year for Nintendo.
Oh yeah. One thing I want to throw in here at the end, a prediction. I feel like with this new Zelda, like the amount of talk there's been about things you're going to be able to do in a short period of time, small digestible tasks you can do. They've been talking about that a lot, especially recently. I think there was a quote from Miyamoto, that came out today or something like that.
Today, yeah.
About that there's going to be a lot of stuff that you can do on the overworld, which some people were a little bit skeptical about. Will there be stuff to do, or will it be empty like Twilight Princess? And I feel like since they're embracing DLC, I feel like they might actually take this as an opportunity to gradually expand not the world itself, like the size of the world, but the content of the world with DLC, like outside of the dungeon idea. So
they're gonna add a DLC merchant who will sell you horse armor for
right.
$4.
Well, I don't know what that,
Classic joke.
but I think they might do something like that. Like I can't think of a better way to keep people playing a Zelda game than making the outside world that is not the dungeons, but like making them, like giving them new things to do. I keep going back to Animal Crossing, the way they talk about this game. Like there's things that you can do every day and you don't necessarily have to go to a dungeon to do it. I keep thinking about Animal Crossing and how there's fruit that you can pick and things like that. I feel like they're gonna do that. Am I crazy?
They're gonna do a Zelda cross Animal Crossing, and it's gonna be released before Shin Megami Tensei Crossfire Emblem.
Right.
That's my prediction.
Okay.
It will be released in 2021, and Shin Megami Tensei will be on its 7th development team and getting its 14th engine.
I'm gonna make a bet that that's not gonna happen.
I will make a bet with anyone that it will happen. And all you need to do to make that bet is like and subscribe to our videos, and leave comments with user questions. We're actually going to be revamping some user questions the way that we do them soon. So you can look forward to that. The next podcast that we do is actually going to be very focused on the ZB.net. So if you don't know about our website, go check that out on the ZB.net. And I think that'll just about do it for this episode. So thank you for joining us. Thank you for listening to our ramblings. We went a little long, but shorter than usual for whatever that's worth. So, so that'll be it for this episode. This is Spiegel and Hex signing off. Thank you for listening. Say goodnight, Hex.
Good night.
And don't forget to do all those things that I said. Thank you very much for listening. See you next time.
Bye.